Okay, we were able to insert the 2D drawing library, but there are more drawing components. So let's check different ones. So let's start, for example, with this circular break line. This is just picking 1 point, 2 point, and we get some drawing symbol. So let's do the same workflow as previously. So at first we have to get the name of this component. It is circular break line. Let's just copy it, insert into a different panel. Okay, here it is. So then we have to specify where exactly we would like to insert it. And here we would like to get it on this view. So let's select it and let's start providing the input for this plugin component, the view. Okay, and now it's time for the input. So what do we have for input in this case? Let's see. As a user, you would probably guess that, yeah, we needed the 2 points, because when I was inserting this plugin, it asked me about the first point and the second point. So let's try with this approach. So we will grab the view and then provide 1 point a little above and the second point on the right. Okay, we have to merge those 2 points into one list. So let's connect it, move it a little. Okay, and here provide. Yeah, now we have the 2 points. And after this, we have to connect it into one input, and then let's try. It will not work, but let's try. Oh, whoa, we get a big red error. What exactly it is saying? It is saying that we get some plugin picker input invalidation. We get the exception. And this is why the drawing API is so confusing, because for this component, the authors of this component have not used the picking by 2 points, but they used picking by n points, and then it is working. And they used n points for picking 2 points. It is doable by the API, so this is not an error, but just something which makes inserting of those components a little harder, especially that you don't have the deconstruct ability, so you cannot get from the model, from the drawing, the way how this component was inserted. And what you see when you are inserting it is not always exactly the same as the author of the plugin tried. So if you will get some problems about getting knowledge, trying to break out what are needed inputs for your specific component, please give a sign. We will talk about how it can be obtained in a little different way. So okay, now we know that the circular break line needs endpoints, where the n is equal to the 2. So yeah, just this thing. Of course, if I would get those settings, so for example this one, and name it as a reversed. I think that there is no typo. So I have saved this file, and now I will provide the name of those attribute files. So now, yeah, I just get the reversed input. So you can always use pre-saved settings, or use those plugin attributes like we used for those plugins which doesn't have the UI. Okay, what is the most interesting, I would say, that if you do not specify the settings, it will use the currently applied one. So if I get this one, say apply, and just this, it will be disabled and recompute. So it is using the previously applied. And it is quite a big thing in terms of the time needed for inserting those plugins. Please look that when I do not specify the name of the attributes, the insertion is quite fast. It takes only 83 milliseconds. But if I specify the reversed file name and try to insert it, yeah, we are getting much longer insertion time. You see the difference, yes? Because it's quite big. So if you need to insert many of plugins at once, then probably reading the data from the attribute is not the best approach. It would be much better to, before inserting your plugins, change your UI like you want and press apply. Of course, you can do it by the macro, and then using with the run macro, you can get it by the drawing directory or by the dynamic macro provided from the panel. So just please be aware about this time needed for parsing the provided settings of the component. Okay, just a remark about it. And now let's go to a more, maybe more more interesting component. So let's go with the report pullout picture and marking. Sorry. So here it is the component used for getting the. I just want to get the properties of it. Yeah, much bigger UI with a lot of features to specify how the pullout picture should look. So this is used for example, when we have some complicated feature and we have to specify the length of those rebars. So how it is working from the user perspective. You just click it and pick a point and then get the message that no rebars selected. So at this point, we see that this plugin needs 1 point for an input, but also somehow it needs some rebars pre-selected. So if I try once more again, then I will select those rebars and click 1 point. Then I will get, now I am getting something. It is here. Okay. So this plugin needs something to be selected before running it, before inserting it. I will just change those settings to a different one for this. Okay. It will be easier for later usage. So once more again, I just click the rebar and select where exactly it has to be placed. I will insert here the proxy line, okay? So we see that for this kind of plugins, we also have to specify something which has to be selected. And this is the reason why here there is the last input, which is optional, that something which has to be selected just before inserting the plugin. So let's see how it will work. I will copy all of those content, okay? And okay, now we will be working with this view. So I want to insert it here. And I don't know what is the name of it. So let's select the instance of this component to see the name. This is the rebar pullout picture. Copy data. Okay, let's change it without the new line sign at the end. Okay, this is the name of the plugin. We also specified the view where it has to be placed. And now it's time to think about the picker input. So here, probably just 1 point. So we have to specify view and 1 point. So those merging of 2 points is not needed. And let's specify this point. Okay. So probably it would work until those magic objects to select. So we have to somehow specify which rebars have to be selected just before running this plugin. So I will just get this one and link it here and try to insert the plugin. Okay, so it inserted the rebar pullout picture and marking component for those selected things. And let's try it a little differently. So I will grab multiple parts. I'll grab this rebar, and this rebar, and interrupt at the end. And it doesn't work. Why? Okay. It doesn't work because this data has been transferred as a one list. So all of those objects has been selected. We need to graft it to make them into 3 different lists. So now, as you can see, it inserted all of them, all of the insertion. So all of the rebars has been inserted with this plugin. Okay, let's continue. Let's move next. And the same approach will be used for next components. For example, this rebar group dimensioning, how it works. here pick location for dimension line, and that's all. But it is not working because no rebar was pre-selected. But if I pre-select one of them and click the point, then yeah, it is working. Okay, so we see the same approach. We have to pre-select the rebar before running this component. So like previously, okay, just we have to get the name of it, because probably it is not the name with spaces. So let's use this component, and now we see that this is the rebar group dimension plugin. Let's copy. Next approach, it will be probably very similar. Copy the data. Let's paste it here. Okay, and once more. Into which view we would like to insert this plugin? Into the view of this rebar. Okay, where we would like to specify this line here, and for which drawing part for this one. So probably we already specified all of them. The name is correct, the view, where should this plugin be placed, the picker, just one input, and the rebar objects which has to be selected. So let's see. Okay, we saw that those rebars were selected and this plugin has been inserted, so it is working. Okay, yeah, those also are selected, and with the currently applied settings, this rebar group dimensioning has been inserted. Of course, you can just before inserting the plugin load any preset attributes, and if you care about the time, then go with the macro route and apply the previous settings. If you then don't care about the time, then just provide the attribute name here. Okay, so this is the rebar group dimensioning. The next one is the rebar group marking, and it's a little different way of showing this data. How it will work, let's see. Let's provide 2 points, maybe this and this. Yeah, not the best probably. So it is rather here, this line point and the placement of the part mark. Okay, so something like this. So here we saw that we need to specify 2 points, and the question is how they should be placed. So let's try to investigate this thing. Let's at first get this plugin name, and here we get the rebar group marking. Okay, so it will definitely not. It will need more than just 1 point. So this picker input will have to be changed, but how exactly we will see. And at first, let's just get the name of this plugin, okay, without the enter at the end, and just disable the previous one to not insert too much of them. Let's provide the view, okay, and yeah, now it is object reference is not set on object. Let's get this one, those rebars. Something is wrong. Yeah, we don't have this point, the first one, so for example here, but still we get the invalid picker exception. So at this stage we know that something is wrong. What exactly, we don't know. So let's try with providing 2 points. We get the view and 2 points. Let's try it out. Okay, so here we have to specify also the second point. Okay, where was the first one? I don't remember. So it will be here and it will be here. Okay, so please let's get merge of those first points. This one, and let's try. Okay, let's try. Will it work? Let's enable the plugin, and yeah, it worked. So for the rebar group marking, we needed 2 points for the insertion. And yeah, it could be done differently if the developer of this plugin would use 2 inputs for it. So, you know, those 2 points provided by a single input, they can be split into providing 2 single points. So this is why those drawing plugins are not very easy to consume, but okay, we know that the rebar group marking need 2 points. So what next? Okay, object dimensioning tool. The next plugin, which is quite nice, I would say. This plugin is used on the GA drawings for marking, for example, hollow cores. And how it works? It relies on the user picking of next parts. And what is the most interesting? This picking has to be ended with the interrupt button. So now, yeah, I've got this component inserted. Of course, it would be very time consuming to manually pick all of those hollow cores. So there is this magic button to get the selection, and it under the hood probably do the same as we will try to do with the Grasshopper script. So okay, we now know that there is some plugin, object dimensioning tool. Let's start exactly like in the past. Let's select it and get the name. Okay, object dimensioning tool. Okay, so let's try. Here it is. Okay, we have the name of this thing. And I will use the component for getting the selection. So I will just select those hollow cores and get this current selection, you know, to just populate very quickly this data without the manual process of picking. Of course, in the future, we will tackle this challenge by some filtering components, but currently they are not available. So yeah, I know now. I know what parts has to be selected. Oh, I have also the grid. So maybe I will try to correct my just disable and recompute. And here, yeah, I get the 9 of parts. Okay, so I know what is the input, I know what is the name, and what is the missing question. Yeah, I have to get the view of those things. So now I can get the view from one of the pre-selected hollow cores. So I will just get the list item. List item, yeah, here it is. So I will just get the first view, the first item to get the view of it. Okay, so here we have the view of those hollow cores. Nice. So if we go here, we get the name, we get the view, and the open question is, what is the picker input? Yeah, and here let's try here. We know that the user is picking the objects itself. And where are those objects? They are from this view, okay? And what are those objects? Probably those one. So now we get just one picker input. So it is not what we would like, because we are picking many drawing parts. So we should get many picking inputs. So let's manipulate with some grafting, and then we are getting, yes, now we are getting 9 objects, and here we can flatten it to one single list. So from the 9 hollow cores, we get 9 picker input objects, exactly like you as a user would pick one by one. Okay, but probably this is not enough, because if you remember how I was inserting them manually, then at the end of the process of the picking, I had to right-click and select interrupt. So probably we would also need this interrupt phase, and for this we have this interrupt mode of this component. And okay, just for the clarification, just provide any type of input. The interrupting doesn't care about it, and we have to somehow combine those two inputs. So the user picked n hollow core slabs, and after that he select the interrupt. So if we go to this component and add one more input, then we would get probably good results. Let's check it, and yeah, that's all. So this component is quite complicated, I would say, because it needs one or more objects. We don't care at the beginning how many hollow core slabs will be an input objects, but it also needs this interrupting at the end. So okay, it can also be inserted with a drawing link with some help of this right click and changing the mode of this picker input type. And please remember that probably you will have to manipulate a little of the structure of data, that going from lists to trees and into the reverse mode. So okay, that's mainly all. As you see, the plugins are quite complicated, I would say, and this is why maybe no, this is not the reason. Okay, maybe from the other side. I hope that somehow you will consume it, and maybe you will have some more insight. Maybe something can be done better. But also please try it and say if for your drawing plugins is it working okay or not. And yeah, in the future we will tackle those select phase, because manually selecting rebars which has to be inserted, which have to be covered by some drawing plugin, this is not the correct workflow for the automation. But at this stage of the drawing link, we miss the filtering components from the drawing. They will happen. They will have to be created for example, for the dimensioning. But at this point, we don't have them. So that's all from me. The plugins can be inserted with the drawing link, with this asterisk that making the proper input and get the knowledge about what it should be. It should be 1 point, 2 point, or maybe 2 set of 1 point, or maybe n points. It depends. It depends of the decisions made in the past by the author of the plugin itself. And that's all. Thank you very much. See you in the future.